Live on Facebook. Hello, everyone out there in Facebook land. This is Andrew Berman and my good buddy Paul Lucido, connecting from California in his awesome home office, still rocking the PRMG swag all over. Now, I'm gonna hide for a moment so you can see the full scope of PRMG-ness that he's got going on here. So there it is. All right, I'll bring it back here. All right, so if you haven't been with us before, Paul and I, a year ago, as of May, we decided to become comfortable with being uncomfortable. I don't like being live on Facebook. I didn't. I've become more accustomed to it, and because of this, Paul and I have basically taken a deep dive into Jay Doran's 30 Days of Thought. We pick a section of it and we just we read it, we write our notes on it, sometimes record a video, and then Paul and I get in front of the camera and just share what's going on. I'm going to start off, I'll read the excerpt here, and then Paul starts it off because he just always finds the best way to cover this stuff amazingly. Okay, humanity is what we're covering today. Humanity is birth and death, and culture is the expression of both, into which we define our subjective into the agreed objective. Take it away.
Thank you, Andrew, and I appreciate us being together once again, doing 30 Days of Thought. I don't know what episode. I think this might be episode number 9 for us. I believe this is episode 8 or episode 9. Okay, so I was looking here, and when you think about humanity.
So 8, what from are we on season 3 or something?
No, we're on season 2. I'm sorry. So we've done a total of 22 the year before, and we're now in our 9th episode for season 2. Thank you for reminding me. There you go. So we're very committed. Okay, so I'm looking at this here, and it's when you think of humanity, you think of benevolence, you think of kindness, you think of compassion. These are general terms that are synonymous with humanity. Humanity is showing empathy for others. It's showing compassion for others. Once again, it kind of all revolves around benevolence. However, when I started to read this we'll call it abstract that Jay put together, it's not so much as speaking to that. It's a little more broad, and I think as I read it, I thought, boy, this one's a little trickier than most of the other adages and analogies that he's done. But anyway, he has here, and I'm just going to kind of read this really quick. I normally don't like to read directly from it, but it says, humanity is the culmination of every happening, all past occurrences, both energy and matter, the infinite future probabilities that are inevitable in this universe, or another layered in between dimensionality. Boy, there he goes, trying to get into physics. Here's what I kind of pull from this in so many words. We are the sum of all of our experiences, and there are a lot of things that we've experienced prior to where we are now. And the idea is, do those experiences define us as we are today? And that's hard to say, because in my mind, I would think, yes, it does. Those experiences are part of the fabric of who we are, and they do have a place. We've talked about stuff being buried in the basement before. We've talked about, just repression, not feeling good enough, trying to break out of our shell, et cetera, all these behaviors, all these thoughts in our mind contribute to that. But where is its place in the sense of humanity? He put here, we develop a false belief that all was true and all which we expected has made us and defined us. We are not the happenings of life. Well, I think where he was going there is he might be talking about us being a product of our environment. We are kind of a byproduct, if you will, or product of our environment. I believe that environment, whether social, whether your physical environment where you live, et cetera, contributes to who you are. It begins to shape you a little bit. So look, I think this one requires more of a little back and forth discussion as we go, because like I said, this is a very broad term, humanity. Okay, Jay, humanity. What is your point in speaking about humanity? What is Jay's main thrust to get across to us in that? And again, without sounding like a broken record, humanity is the birth and death, and culture is the expression of both, into which we defined our subjective into the agreed objective. That's another piece that he talks about. You know, do we all need to be agreeable? I don't know. So that's something you might want to talk about too, Andrew. So I'm going to turn it over to you. Let's just have a little discussion about this.
Great. So, you know, you mentioned being a product of your environment. And yes, I believe that there's an influence. Obviously, environment has an influence, but we are more of a product of our actions and our beliefs that come from actually, the things that we go through. So some person actually, might take the horrible events that are happening to them as something that just crushes them and paralyzes them. There are people actually that are going to also get motivated and get inspired and get excited about it. And that's why you could see in a family, that's had, lots of trauma and lots of hard things going through it. And you might have actually, one son, just cannot get out of actually this rut and is stuck actually dealing with whatever kind of tragedies that they're dealing with in their best way, which might be actually through self-medication or just some self-pity, and then that their sister is just growing and uses those negative experience to fuel them and to grow from them. So which is, I mean, when I read actually the humanity thing, and then I read actually the excerpt, I didn't actually understand the full connection between the humanity title, because it just basically seemed like we're really talking about putting your mindset in the right place, and dealing with the obstacles that we're dealing with, which I mean, could it not have been a better time to talk about this than through the shit that we're going through right now? And specifically, and I know we don't like to read actually sections of here, but it's just good. So I mean, there's some great things. So in here he said, humanity has drowned herself in a pool of woes, of dread, and the smog of desire has canvassed itself over her body of life with everlasting H2O, the essence of all beginning. The birth of tragedy of this humanity is what we scrape ourselves when we bathe and when we shed our primordial skin daily.
Okay. Yeah. So
hold on for a sec. We got a big quote coming from my buddy here. All right, let's go. I don't know if you're going to be able to read the whole thing there, but
I can read. Yeah, it's a paragraph. I see.
Yeah, it's Okay, if you look at the comments, you'll see it. It's by my buddy Alyssa, sure, or EJ as she goes by here. But you'll see it in the comments later.
So look. Let's go there a little bit. Yes, the term humanity is a very broad term. Let's think about the one at the analogy we read just the other day, which was Dark Companion. Dark Companion was basically trying to speak to the point of embracing the darkness, embracing some of the pain and the plight that you've been through to help you grow. I think at the end of the day, when we think about humanity and we think about the point that he made about H2O being pure, H2O being the life essence of who we are, and right now it's being shrouded by all kinds of negativity. It might be shrouded by the smog of, just everything that's happening right now. You have to find a way through your actions, through your behaviors, through human behavior, one another, in other words, how you interact with other people, to find the greater good, if you can do that. And I always say this, and we've said it before in many broadcasts, you have to leave your baggage at the door. You got to somehow leave it at the door. And that's very difficult for most people to do, to break those shackles, to shed that. back to scraping off all that stuff that he's speaking about. It's very difficult for many of us to do that, especially when you're in the valley right now. You know, you're kind of in this place, and it's hard to you know, feel like you can pull yourself back up or be happy for other people that might be at a better spot than you are at the present time. So anyway, a lot of that is just having the right attitude. What Jay is speaking about right now, I believe, and again, I don't want to, you know, what's great about this book, as we always say, it's up for interpretation. But when I looked at it here, you know, products of our environment, as I said earlier, it says here, this is interesting, we are but the decisive habituations regulated unto us by our environment. It's back to the same thing. We're creatures of habit, okay? And our environment dictates that sometimes. It contributes to how we react. Does that make some sense there? So the key is, how do you rise above all that? How do you become the better person? And that's a very tricky thing for many, many people to do. I know it, you know, we've been doing this for a long time. You know, I've been, you know, in the mortgage industry, for example, for a very long time, but there's still a lot to learn. There's still a lot that I don't know about, and I've got to adjust and bend and flex with the landscape. That's the other thing too. Be willing to be flexible with the landscape. Don't compromise your principles. Don't compromise your integrity. Don't compromise who you are. But at the same time, be open to fluctuations. Be open to the ever-changing landscape. It's what I always tell my family. You know, what we think we know today, we don't know anything. Okay, we're going to learn something new tomorrow and realize what we, you know, learned yesterday is already passé. So that's the beauty. Yeah, I see in it anyway.
Yeah. So, and by the way, just also for my friend Alyssa, she just commented here. That's Mutida, otherwise known as sympathetic joy. Being happy for others authentically is the opposite state to jealousy. It's a great practice. But by the way,
absolutely correct, EJ.
Yeah, and by the way, like, so EJ, if you, I don't know if you follow her and click on her profile, she tours around the country, like, you know, just in a van, like, you know, she's like this amazing person who just has this great actually spirit, who just you know, just like you can, she shares everything that goes on with her. She goes actually, and she goes to shares the beautiful places that she visits. And even actually there's a special, a YouTube special where this guy, I think it's called Van Life, where you get actually a deep dive into her world about what she's living actually out there. And, you know, I know she's had, you know, some ups and downs in her life, like everyone else. And she's someone actually who's become a product of her actions, not actually of the things that have gone in her life. So I just, pardon, actually, I stopped active listening there for a second so I could read her comments, Paul.
No, it's great. And I can see where she's coming from. And I also can tell just by her comments and what I've already glanced at that she's aligned with what we're saying. Look, I follow a lot of different podcasts and different people out there that are spiritually enlightened, that are you know, trying to be the better person. I totally get all that. In fact, there are people that I know personally that quest for that. That's what they seek to be, the better version. But a lot of it, as we're saying, is through our own interactions with one another. How we behave, how we react contributes to the greater good. I always talk about the ideology of paying it forward. I love that movie because I love the idea of it. Try to have a pay it forward mentality if you can. People need that. Simple pleasantries go a long way. My son always speaks to that. Dad, simple pleasantries go a long way. That doesn't mean you go around placating people. That's not what that means. That doesn't mean that you don't have to be over gooey or, you know, compromising who you are. It's just a simple thing. It's like chivalry. I mean, literally, if people would just practice certain things more often than not, you would be surprised. You know, even something as simple as a smile to another person, all these things contribute toward the way we behave as a society. Right now, we're in a very difficult time. We all know that. This is not, this is for real. This is not some hyperbole. I was listening to the president just yesterday talk about, the bill for the relief bill. We'll see how that all works out. But at the end of the day, where my mind's at is it's up to us. Everybody has to do their part. We all have to work together, regardless of, we're working from home today. I'm working from home. I chose to do this. This is actually my first day working from the house. I have a 10:30 scheduled Pacific Standard Time meeting with my marketing team. We're going to do it from here. We're all trying to embrace and leverage technology right now to its fullest. We are in a time of change, Andrew. It's like the Chinese say, right? May we live in interesting times. We are living in interesting times right now. Good, bad, or otherwise, it's intriguing to say the least. So,
yeah, and there's a lot of beauty coming out of this. Like as I was watching Tim Raheem, you just have someone actually who was ready to send over her application to join your
I just saw that.
marketing team. Not for nothing, but she's good. She's good. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah, we actually met actually at she was running a part of my buddy's record label. She had her own record label and did like a bunch of stuff in the electronic dance music when I was active in that world. But yeah, so going back to Tim Raheem, talked about actually the beauty of what's going on, and then I was listening to it. I was like, what is he talking about? This is all ugliness, but no, there is so much beauty that's coming out of this. Like first off, I mean, we're obviously realizing how important everything is, how important actually our family is, how important our health is, and how important actually the things actually that I've just been taking for granted, how important those things are. We also are finding actually new ways to adopt to actually what just seemed to be impossible, where organizations said they could never actually work unless they had that belly to belly, yet those organizations are right now thriving. And there are plenty of actually people out there that are with all the sadness and man, there's some horrible stories out there that I'm talking to, and some people actually I just feel so bad for. But putting that aside, we will get through this, most of us, and we will be stronger. We're going to learn new ways to do things, and we're going to finally learn to wash your hands on a regular basis. We're going to finally learn to keep some good hygiene practices that maybe we should have all done all along. But so all right, listen, we're almost kissing 20 minutes here, and I just did a poll of our viewers, and both of them said they wanted us to write it down. Boom. Bad joke there. All right. So, Paul, anything you want to say in closing? Maybe pick the next week's topic?
Sure. I can pick the next week's topic. But before I do, what I want to say is, look, the book, 30 Days of Thought, Jay's analogies, Jay's ideologies, the things that he speaks of. I got the book right here. In fact, I had it set up so you can see it. I'll pull it off the little stand. And what I'll do is I'll pick a chapter here. But before I do that, if you really stop and listen to what Andrew and I have been talking about and all the different episodes that we dug through, there's a common thread throughout all of this, and it's discovering your truth. It's about revealing a little bit who you are and unshackling yourself from the fear of trying to put yourself out there, being fearful of, well, will I say something that's really kind of, off key, or will I sound, am I going to sound stupid? Am I going to sound ignorant? You know what? Here's the thing. We're all experts in our own realms. We all know, when we're in our wheelhouse, so to speak, our bailiwick realm of knowledge, that's a great thing, right? But this is teaching you how to break out of that and open it up for other things to be cognizant of. So through reading, I'm going to just say this: read to think, write to develop, listen to what is unsaid, and speak to let go. That is the four. That's what Jay preaches, that's what the book actually teaches you, and he does a really good job. And I also encourage you, I'll be reposting it, to listen to the podcast where we have Andrew, myself, and Jay Doran all together. It's a little bit loose. There's no real, it's just about Jay having a revelation that, he's been kind of under the radar, and now he's finding himself being more willing to come out and talk and speak and not be as shy. And clearly he's not shy. So with that, I will go ahead. We did humanity. Let's see here. How about this one? Knowledge is potential energy. How does that sound? Knowledge is potential energy. It's so interesting that I picked that, because that's my point. By educating yourself, that's where it's at. Read, keep reading. That's what's going to develop you. And then write. Writing is what really helps you grow. I love to write, and it's very cathartic is the word I was looking for. It helps you really develop yourself. So anyway, that's about all I have. I don't want to overextend my welcome here, Andrew. I've got, like I said, a marketing meeting in about 20 minutes, and I really appreciate you having me on today.
And Alyssa, thank you for your commentary. Love it. Love actually your sharing. Make sure actually you're watching in the comments over here so you can see what Alyssa just shared with us. So fantastic. So looking forward. Let's do it again next week. And that's about it. Okay. All right. Everyone have an awesome day.